Awesome. I think we have everybody up on stage. Let's go through and do a mic check. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you all doing?
Jam, how's it going? Great to be here.
Love hearing your voices. It's been too long since we've been in a space together, all of us. So super pumped.
Yeah, it's been a while this time, huh? It's been definitely like at least 6 months. Too long.
But at least a lot has happened since, right?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's crypto. We move fast here.
Time does fly. Um, oh my. Certainly hope you guys can't hear the low rumble of the paving machine next to my window. I often feel that in these spaces, somebody always has some sort of construction noise, always. And today, unfortunately, it is me. Um, cool. So we've got a lot to talk about because, as Martin said, um, we have a lot of time to catch up on and a lot of interesting things. And one super exciting thing that I know we're going to talk a lot about, which is the next auction. But maybe if there's anybody in the space that isn't familiar with the people up on stage, let's go through and do a round of introductions. We can start with you, Mauricio.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, Mauricio, one of the founders at XMAQUINA. Actually an ex-employee at Peak, which is just kind of relevant. Yeah, was leading the ecosystem at Peak for a couple of years before going all into Ex Machina. Um, yeah, bit of background in business, and then I entered the Web3 space around 6-7 years ago, mostly leading ecosystems and BD teams. I was getting a bit bored with like the entire DeFi ecosystem and just the forking, etc. Like there was no innovation, it felt like. And then I came across Peak, and that's kind of when my eyes kind of lit up again, right? Like the first time you find out about Bitcoin or Ethereum, I think that had that same kind of moment when I found out about Peak and what was possible with machines and the machine economy and like a use case that finally made sense. I think it was just so obvious that the crypto was going to be the payment rails for machines and robots and just any smart kind of device in smart cities long term. So yeah, so I was just really gravitated towards this vision. And that's kind of like where I started in this whole IoT slash machine economy and blockchain convergence space. And yeah, I've been building there ever since. Yeah, happy to dive deeper into what we've been building later on, but I'll pass it on for some other intros as well.
Yeah, I can introduce myself as well. Mercury One here. I'm one of the founders at Ex Machina. I'm basically the research analyst on humanoid robotics and physical AI. So there's a lot of content on the blog that are originating from my ideas and what I think about the space. The crypto and I mean we are the convergence of crypto and physical AI. So like along with Peak, you cannot imagine like faster moving ecosystem. You have like crypto is a bit always fast, but also a little bit crazy. And physical AI, you have innovation on a weekly basis. So it's very difficult to find the most exciting place than this one. I'll pass it over to the other.
Thanks, sir. Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Martin. I'm Chief Business Officer at Peak, and yeah, really kind of want to double down on what Mercury and I have a background in like the corporate world. I was responsible for leading our advertisement group's investments in the African market for a couple of years, and that was around the time where I kind of started building a Web3 hub, which basically was an initiative at the intersection between corporate venture capital and corporate strategy. And the kind of eye-opening element of Africa is that you see how fragmented infrastructure is. You see how non-accessible some of the most basic, fundamental, almost like human needs in a connected world are. And then when we built the hub, It was a funny coincidence because a week later I met one of the Peak co-founders, and actually pitched Peak back then to the Bertelsmann Group Investment Committee, which rarely ever happens for like a crypto startup. And luckily, we were in these days we were incepting a fund, which is called Generative Ventures. Some of you might have heard of it, which really kind of has that thesis of the machine economy settling on like accelerated by AI and settling on Web3 infrastructure. And obviously, there was a perfect fit. We invested in Peak, and then through the process, I just completely fell in love with the project, and yeah, joined the project last year, and I'm super happy about everything that has happened so far. Right, I think we've been building Peak for 7 years now, and it almost feels like the train is now finally arriving in the station. The world is waking up. Some of the leading minds in the world are kind of starting to see this massive transformation that we're seeing. Big thought leaders, not only in the crypto space but well beyond that, have understood that the kind of robotics age is arriving. And you see it also when you look at some of the balance sheets of the big industrial companies. 25% of their capital budgets will be allocated to robotics and automation over the next couple of years. Yeah, people are waking up to it, and Ex Machina is obviously a crucial component when it comes to decentralizing that age of abundance. And yeah, super cool that we're having this this AMA together and speak about what is going on.
Cool. So maybe either Mercury or Mauricio, you can maybe give us a brief overview of what you are doing with Ex Machina and how that is contributing to the machine economy.
Yeah, sure. I guess I can start and then I'll pass it over to Mercury. Yeah, so Ex Machina is easily put is an ecosystem democratizing access to basically the rise of this robot economy, whether it's robotics, equity in robotics companies and ownership of machine revenue generating machines, to giving you the tools and infrastructure to be able to deploy your own kind of crowd-funded sub-DAOs, if you will, sort of like a segregated portfolio of assets that could be co-owned and governed by communities. Um, with a major focus at the beginning where we feel most of the value accrual is happening. So right now, the DAO is really focused in acquiring shares in a lot of these private robotics companies, some of the leading robotics companies in the world. Like for example, we actually just made our first allocation into Uptronic, a company that's working with Google, DeepMind, Mercedes, and they essentially have a lot of real world deployment that's happening. So like robots basically going into warehouses and working with a RAS model with some of the top RAS is robot as a service. So it's like a retainer where they operate the robots, manage the service of robots, and they go into the real world. So we just think there's massive opportunities for companies like that, Figure AI, Neuro Robotics. So essentially the DAO is now focusing on acquiring a lot of shares of these companies pre-IPO, as we believe there's going to be like explosive growth in the sector as they go from pilots to actually long-term deployments and retainer models. And then from that, we'll basically, yeah, we have a full DAO governance and infrastructure to evolve as we grow, and then focus more on the machine RWAs as machines start to become integrated into everyday lives over the next 3+ years. So that's a quick overview. I'll pass it over to Mercury.
Yeah, maybe I can give you a few words about physical AI, the way we see the space. So we usually try to divide the physical AI space into three main parts. We have the self-driving cars, which have been working in several cities already, in Waymo, with Waymo, for instance, in San Francisco, Austin, it's working. But this, as soon as this Sunday, we will see Tesla launching their own service, the robotaxi network. You will not see the Cybercab already, but it will come in a few months. What that means, it means that this particular part of physical AI is going to become more and more mainstream, and there will be a lot of visibility towards what is really happening with machines that basically self-control themselves. They are fully autonomous. They provide service to humans. It's pretty extraordinary. And of course, it's at the core of physical AI because you have a body which is like a car who's actually moving. And of course, it is also somehow dangerous when you have something like that moving. So there's a lot of regulation that is attached to it. And there's a brain. And the brain, there are two components to the brain. Usually in physical AI, you have the training part, which is sitting in servers, and you have the inference, which is basically you have TPU, GPU are inside the physical AI hardware, and that has to infer the algorithm. Super interesting like setup, and this is really going to become mainstream. You have the second part, which is humanoid robots. It's still a niche today. You have maybe 100 of robots doing real work today in the world, so it's really, really early, and that's the main focus of Ex Machina, humanoid robots, even though physical AI is also part of the basically the vision of Ex Machina, but the main, let's say, the main focus is humanoid robots. And then you have drones. So you have drones who are self-autonomous, and you can see more and more of those drones who are able to do things by themselves, and they have a mission and they accomplish it. And there will be a lot of different, let's say, services that are powered by those drones. So that's physical AI in a nutshell, like those three main topics. Of course, you will have more, but those are the three main branches. Pig is really interesting. They already, if you remember let's say, I think it was a few months back, they were already tokenization of Tesla cars fleet. So it's really going in this direction. If you think about the future, you will have fleet of basically robot taxis, you will have fleet of humanoid robots, and you will have fleet of drones operating in the world doing services. Tokenizing the ownership of those fleet could become something extremely valuable and extremely interesting in the future. Ex Machina currently, as Mauricio said, we are mainly focused currently on acquiring equity because this is the first phase, but the late, I mean, like it's phase one, basically, it's all about investing in infrastructure. Actually, it's really like crypto, sometimes the crypto space is focused on building infrastructure like layer one, like Peak is a layer one, and this is the infrastructure. And then at some point, you will have more and more apps building on top of the infrastructure and developing service on top of it. So that's how we see it. Of course, currently, physical AI infrastructure is being built, but you will see more and more services built on top of this infrastructure. So yeah, it's going to be pretty interesting end of 2025, and 2026 is going to be absolutely nuts, we believe, in this space.
Yeah, I just want to add to that. And I think this is like now is a perfect time to be preparing with legal sandboxes and legal frameworks to enable this like machine economy that's coming, right? As soon as these machines are ready to be deployed in the next couple of years, and fractionalized, and there's legal clarity around this. Like, for example, UAE, it's a perfect sandbox to kind of start testing this and start doing this in a region where you won't be classified as security, and you have the basically backing of a nation and of a of the state, right? So I think this is something that we're really excited to be collaborating with Peak on as well, and part of why we're doing what we're doing, because we just think what machine DeFi can unlock long term is just I don't think many people realize how much it can change, right? Like right now we have the super centralized path that we're taking, and then this is the only really path forward to like not universal basic income and not being dependent on states and big tech companies. So yeah, it's kind of why we're doing what we're doing.
And I think one of the biggest components of what you're doing is, like you said, the decentralization and the involvement with the community. So I wanted to kind of pivot and talk a little bit more about that, because you guys have something coming up, your Genesis Auction 2, which is designed essentially to allow the community to come in and participate. So could you talk a little bit more about the upcoming auction, how that fits into your plan, and maybe go into how the first wave went as well.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, we hosted two auctions actually. So it was like auction one and auction 1.5. Um, yeah, over the last few months, and they both sold out. So it was really exciting to see the open interest for what we're building. Um, and it's essentially you can think of it, it's sort of like an IDO. So but you're seeding the DAO's treasury. So there's like a swap rate. So for example, one USDC equals 22 DAOs, right? So like, I'll use the example as valuation for this next auction. So the next auction valuation is 45 million FDV. So that's the swap rate, right? And as you swap the USDC, it goes into the DAO's treasury, which is then governed and deployed across these physical AI assets. So you can think of our Deus token and the ecosystem at the start, like sort of like a proxy or an ETF across physical AI. Most of these companies are inaccessible to retail or even inaccessible to a lot of accredited investors just because of geopolitical restrictions and so on. Like, for example, Chinese companies are very hard to invest in, especially if you're in the US, and vice versa. And it's just a complex to get allocations, right? Like minimum checks are like 250K plus, etc. So essentially, we're just seeding these Genesis auctions. People are contributing USDC or other cryptocurrencies. They get in exchange our Deus token. And then that's essentially representing our whole treasury, and it's governing that treasury. And then with that capital that is coming in, we're having governance proposals and voting on and allocating on across physical AI. So like I said, we already um, initiated a transaction for 24,666 Aptronic shares, so preferred shares. And now with this next auction, we actually have a vote live. If you guys go on our Twitter, you'll see that anyone that's been participating in the auctions already has some tokens that they can vote with. So we have not TGE, just to clarify, but you're essentially able to claim your liquid percent of those tokens now, even though they remain non-transferable, so you can't trade them or do anything from your wallet, but you are able to vote. So we've already have a vote live right now, and currently there are three companies leading this next allocation. So we're gonna take the top three that the DAO picks, and then try to source some deals for them. So it's been really interesting to watch because the DAO is actually getting like really smart. So like we secured already shares in Aptronics. So I just thought the next allocation, people were going to vote for other companies, right? Because we already have some allocation in Aptronic. Figures seem maybe to be a little bit overpriced, but they are the market leader and they have the most funding, so it also makes a lot of sense. And essentially, all the thesis that we had and all of our advisors had, like the DAO picked those top three players. So like right now, leading is Neuro Robotics, Figure, and Aptronic as well for like doubling down and acquiring more shares. So it's just really interesting to see that yeah, people are really getting excited about this space, doing their research, reading all the blogs and content that we put out on every robotics company that we're kind of looking at. And it's really, yeah, the community's coming together and is starting to see the vision now. So it's just exciting to see.
Maybe I can add a couple of points. So the Genesis auction is really basically the way for people to become DAO members. DAO members are the people actually voting, and they have a voice. They can decide what to do with the treasure, the liquid part of the treasury, basically. So to become a DAO members, you need to have those receipt tokens. They are non-transferable, but they allow DAO members to vote, and basically that's how all the members are able to make the decision together. So Genesis auction, when you are part of the community, but you are not a DAO member yet because you don't have the dues, basically all the auctions are there to allow new people to join the community. And of course, also some community members, we saw that in the transaction is like you have some people who constantly they keep increasing their stake. They want to become have a stronger voice all the time, which is amazing. So you have like committee who keeps on, let's say, joining all the different auctions. But of course, you have newcomers, and then that's how the DAO membership grows over time and that the DAO becomes larger and more powerful. So that's how it works.
One thing also to add, right? I think the super exciting thing about this community that Ex Machina is now building, it seems to be a group of people that understand the inevitability of this transformation that we're seeing right now, right? So it's like you becoming an early stakeholder in the internet of the 2000s and being able to shape where the capital flows, who to support, which vision to back. And I think it's probably one of the most responsible things that you can do, right? Like really being aware about this huge transformation, being aware about the market leaders. The team Ex Machina is doing a fantastic job in pre-filtering the assets. I'm one of the, let's say, fortunate people to see the work behind the scenes, the diligence that they apply, right? So you will never kind of receive any bad proposals or any proposals that are just kind of randomly selected. There is a very deep due diligence, a vibrant interaction between the different advisors, and yeah, I'm really curious to see how the next couple of months go. I'm pretty sure this one is going to be sold out very quickly as well. And again, right, like it's really becoming an intrinsic part of this global movement, and making sure that this time, one could argue, unlike the last transformations that we've gone through as a like human civilization, that this time we hopefully get it right.
Yeah, it's really great to see, and it's really great to see, like you said, the excitement and the opportunity that the community is realizing. So, you know, as somebody who is part of the community, as somebody who sort of hangs out, um, it gives me a lot of hope and optimism. Like Marcio, you said, this is our opportunity to, get into the machine economy and to sort of better not only ourselves but everybody else, and move away from that reliance on centralization and state. And in the Web3 ethos and the cypherpunk ethos of taking control of our digital lives, and taking control of our real lives. So, I mean, this is one of those topics that sort of transcends what most people think of when they think about crypto tokens and that aspect, but really speaks to how we move forward as a society. So,
I want
yeah,
to, yeah. Also, I know you participated in. I think it was the first auction, so I was just wanted to say thanks for the support as well, James. And I hope you're voting as well. I hope you've claimed your tokens and you're engaging with like the ecosystem and the voting, because yeah, it's good to have knowledgeable people like yourself in the space to also yeah lead and help the DAO. So thanks again.
absolutely. I have voted. I have voted in the current proposals. So it's fun.
Amazing.
Yeah, I was actually, that was a question that I had for you, which is, maybe dive. I know you talked a little bit about it already, but if you wanted to dive a little deeper into the current proposal, for people who do have, votes available right now, and maybe to entice people who are on the fence or considering getting into this next auction. Um, what is the current proposal? Sort of what are the fine details that you need to know? Um, yeah.
I will let Mauricio answer about the, let's say, the proposal. I like to add a few things back to what we were just discussing about like optimism, and it's not just about optimism. The reason why we want to get involved in this space is that it's either humanoid robots, we know that they are going to change the world. That 100% guaranteed that they are going to change everything in the next 5 years. It will help some countries to basically, um, let's say, alleviate the huge problem that is causing with by the aging population and population collapse. So you have just way more older people and not enough young people to support them. So that's been the choice of China. So they are investing strongly in humanoid robots. just because they need to support the elderly. That's one of the reasons. There are, of course, other reasons is to remain competitive in terms of the price of the product they sell. So they have a very clear strategy, and there are a lot of positive things about it. There is also potentially negative things, like we cannot expect that there will not be job replacement, like in some kind of, there are specific jobs that for an entrepreneur who owns factories or even like a supermarket, it's going to be very obvious for them to replace humans by those machines, and which means that it will incur job loss. So the future is going to be I mean, like, we are going to go through a lot of disruption. The future can be bright, but it's not just like pure white. It can be also a lot of gray areas. One of the reasons to join this is like at least you have a stake in this revolution. So there will be a lot of money being made by those companies. We don't know which winners are. I mean, we don't know which going to be the winners, and that's the part of the discussion that Mauricio can follow. We need to bet on the space. That's what we are doing at Ex Machina. We know this is going to happen. We need to select the best players. So if it's fantastic, it's fantastic. But even if it's bad for people, at least we have a stake, so we can somehow, go through this with the least amount of pain. So that's kind of like the two sides of this let's say transformation. We should not forget about that, obviously. Mauricio, do you want
I'm going to
to?
jump in.
Yeah.
I'll jump in quickly just before Mauricio goes, because I couldn't agree more. And I'm very passionate about this point. I think that, and this is what Ex Machina and this is what Peak in general stands for, that this change is coming. Like you said, whether we are involved with it or not, it's happening. And what Ex Machina represents to me and what Peak represents to me is the opportunity to actually flip the script and allow people to continue to thrive while this change happens. So for the people that are skeptical about what we are doing and how we're approaching it, I just have to say that you're going to be affected by this, whether you believe it or whether you like it or not. And what we are doing is building a separate economy to allow all of us to continue to thrive and continue to live and continue to prosper, regardless of how things change in the future. So I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, and to take it off the pessimistic kind of view, I think we still have some long ways to go. And at the beginning, it's actually just labor shortage, and it's actually just solving problems in industry. Like at first, like when right now there are people, there are not enough people to fill the roles that there are in the U.S. and in China and a lot of these warehouses. So manufacturing can increase. Yeah, dropping actually price of products, and it won't be like an immediate like replacement of jobs. I think I was reading something the other day that there are over 10 million vacancies in factories just alone in the USA. So it's not like it's going to have a negative impact right away. It's actually going to have a positive one, and I think we'll evolve as well. Like when we're just doing these labor jobs, we're going to have to understand that machines will be able to do this faster, more efficiently than all of us. And somebody's going to have to design and build these robots, right? We got to have more engineers. We got to create new industries. There's going to be new industries created from these machines, right? Like imagine having unlimited labor. Like we could just create anything in the world. Space exploration will explode. Like things are gonna change. Like it's just like when the internet started and people were scared of change. I think it's not just all gray and job replacement, but there actually be a lot of things that we don't know because it's all new. But new things will happen, new jobs will come out, and it actually has the potential long term of making the world a lot better in the long term if the value that these machines generate are distributed in a way that it's not just the state and a few tech companies, then I think it actually could make the world a better place.
And one more thing to add, right? Like nation states are waking up to it. I think Mauricio alluded to the UAE and the machine economy free zone, where we are also going to be collaborating together. And I mean, seeing that nation states are waking up to this, trying to find frameworks, trying to build legal systems to make sure that whatever is being embedded in the machine economy follows certain standards, or so that the standards actually adhere to what the machine economy needs, I think speaks volumes, right? And one thought I just recently had was think about, think about the fact that not only human labor and human salaries are widely being replaced in a positive scenario, in a very positive scenario. What that means is that the robots do the jobs for us, right? So it could spark a new age of creativity. Um, and then the second point is, if human labor is replaced by robo labor or automatic labor, then what that also means is that the tax systems will adjust, right? So at the moment, most of the income is actually like generated by nation state is actually generated from people, right? From people who are transacting, from people who are buying stuff, from people who are setting up entities. But going forward, it's machines that are going to pay taxes, right? It's machines that are going to be a foundational part of the kind of economic backbone of nation states, and that is positive because it will relieve the tax burden on people globally, and at the same time, likely, actually, these governments and these entities will make more money than they did before. So that again is kind of a new way of having capital circulating across a global economy in a much more efficient, much more um, beneficial way than we have it right now. And that is something that is widely overlooked, but I believe it's one of the key reasons why nation states are also waking up to this. And it's great to have projects like Ex Machina kind of proactively positioning themselves, opening access to the people, becoming part of this early movement, and start to think about the concepts of society of the future. And that is exactly what is happening right now.
I love when we get off track like this. Um, I enjoy these chats where we share our passions and we talk about the future in a positive way. Because I agree. I mean, I think the point that I was making about this change is coming. It's just the point that, we have to be prepared for it. And I think we all of us involved in deep in the machine economy, I think everybody involved in blockchain really sees potential for a significantly positive change as we move forward, and that's why we're here. But what started this was my question to Mauricio about the specific proposals that we have on the table right now, and I think that's we can put it in the context of not only what is happening right now and what opportunities exist, um, but also what that means for that general topic of the future and potential positive outcomes.
Sorry, James, my internet kind of rugged. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, for sure. No, what started that conversation was me asking you the question about what the current proposals are, and I know I voted, I've looked into it, but maybe to
Ah, got you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So we've had two proposals actually, and it's been a pretty decent turnout. Like, what happens sometimes with DAOs, there's very low voter apathy, and it's very hard to hit quorum. So quorum is basically like the minimum amount of votes needed for the proposal to be executed. So it has to be a percent of the supply usually, just so it's fair. Just a few people can't just make proposals, and yeah, it's just a threshold to avoid foul play within the DAO. And we have not experienced anything close to that. So we're having a lot of voters show up, which was great. So the first proposal was basically for a strategic allocation in Aptronic, and we broke down, yeah, just everything about Uptronic, the potential deals that we had. We had three different source deals, and we kind of went with the more liquid option, which were preferred shares. And essentially, yeah, the DAO voted, and it was really positive. I think it was 3.7 million votes, so token votes towards yes. So it was like a 98% approval rate, and less than 2% against. So that was really good. And that was all in 24 hours. So we just had a really quick vote because we had to secure the allocation. and do the paperwork and so on. So it was super impressive that went through so quickly and people were so engaged. And then right now, so we're leading up to this second auction, right? And we're going to be raising more funds in the DAO's treasury, and we want to already be sourcing the deals to allocate it, because it's not like crypto, where you can just go to a DEX or go to an exchange and buy a token right away. Like, these are privately traded companies. You have to like speak with the companies or with brokers and negotiate the deals and the terms and so on. If the current round is not open, maybe it's on the secondary market. So it just takes time to source the deals. So what we've done is we actually have a proposal right now for voting between the top 7 companies that we figured could be like the biggest game changers in the next couple of few years in humanoid specifically. So on the list are Figure AI, Neuro Robotics, Uptronic, 1X, Unitree, Agility Robotics, and Sanctuary AI. Like Martin said, we passed all these basically companies as we were doing due diligence, plus a few others. And then got the feedback from all of our DAO advisors, which are also our scoring committee. Essentially, they give feedback and vote on there. So if you go to our proposals, I'm actually going to tag it. I'm going to tag the proposal link to the space. We've tweeted the space from Ex Machina. So if you go to our Twitter and go to the space that's currently live that we're in right now, that we've tweeted, I just added the snapshot proposal there. So you can kind of review what it's like in more detail, voting and kind of get a feel of how we break things down, the comments from the scoring committee, top picks. But essentially, yeah, we're already at 300% quorum. So we've met quorum 3 times with the amount of votes that we've had. We've had, yeah, over 90 votes for this vote. And the other vote was, I think, like over 140 votes. So yeah, people are showing up. And right now, leading, as I mentioned earlier, are Figure AI, Neuro Robotics, and Aptronics. So we've been putting out a lot of educational content and blogs and details about all of these different companies, not just the 3 leaders, but in general. And if you scroll down in the proposal and see like the scoring committee top picks and like the North Star Council, which is founding members top picks, it's like the DAO is making really informed decisions. It didn't pick the top 3 companies, but it picked the top 2 and then the one that was in 4th place through these like scoring committee picks. And Neuro Robotics, the one that made it, that was in the top 3, is like a really strong contender coming out of Germany, which made a lot of sense. Like, actually, Dharmafy down there, which is our CMO and co-founder as well, she was the one that's kind of nailed all the picks. So she got all her picks in, and that's what's currently leading. And it looks like it's going to close this way. So yeah, so just check out the proposals and kind of understand the DAO. We've also recently launched our DAO portal, which is basically where you manage everything, where you see the governance proposals, you see the companies that we're invested in or holding in the treasury, and you get a full breakdown of the treasury on chain. So you can see the DAO's wallets, transactions, etc. So everything's super transparent. And then you can dive into a dedicated page for each allocation that we're holding and learn more about the companies and so on, and do all your voting and stuff from there. And we'll continue to add to this portal. So this is where you'll stake your tokens, where you'll be able to receive rewards and contribute, apply to the DAO, or join a unit. So this is kind of like the control system for the entire DAO. So excited to have launched that. Check that out as well if you guys are interested. It's dao.xmachina.io.
Yeah, it's pretty slick. I've been playing around on the site, and I recommend that everybody does. Now, while you were talking, of course, I was doing my typical ADHD thing, clicking around and following some of the things that you've been saying. And so what's interesting is I think since we've started the space, we've had four DAO members cast their votes. So, you know, I hope that people understand that, talking about this more and bringing more attention to this is bringing more participation and activity. And if you're listening and you haven't gone to vote, I think, you should look into it. Highly recommend it. So I guess, that gives us a really good foundation of sort of, we've talked about why we believe Ex Machina is important, why we believe participation in the machine economy is important, how this is going to affect us in the future. We talked a little bit about, the core of what Ex Machina is and how it functions. and all the way up to the fact that we are having another auction. One thing we haven't talked about are the details of the upcoming auction. How does one participate? How does one get involved? When is this happening? And then also, what's next after that? So maybe a quick little rundown of how somebody listening who wants to get involved, who hasn't been involved yet, can. And then maybe I'll let you guys go on about what's coming up in the future. What after this proposal, after this auction, what can we look forward to?
Yeah, sure. I'll take the first question. So, yeah, if you're interested in learning more about the auction, I suggest you jump into our Discord. We have a lot of resources there onto xmachina.io/blog page. Read a lot of the info about the companies and the Genesis auction. And if you want to read like the exact terms for the Genesis auction, you can see the pinned tweet on our profile, and then in that thread, there's a blog which is your complete guide to Genesis Auction 2, which essentially breaks down all the terms for the auction. And then we've actually introduced something called, like whale reward tiers. So essentially, we're incentivizing larger contributions. So if you participate in previous auctions with more, with any amount of funds, if you're like an OG wallet, we call it like a Genesis OG, then you essentially get better terms on if you allocate over 5K USDC, and then there's some whale tiers that move gradually from 25K up. So there's incentives for that, and then all the key auction details are also in that blog. So just see the pinned blog in our on our main Twitter. And then for what comes next, I guess, yeah, this is actually going to take place on Tuesday at Tuesday, June 24th at 12 UTC. And the website is genesis.xmachina.io. So we've got this dashboard specifically for that. Um, yeah, this is essentially what we're doing is we're going to seed more funds into the DAO, and these winners from the vote that is currently live will have the priority. So the execution engine, which is a DAO unit, will start sourcing deals for these companies and try to get allocations. And when we do have some terms available, we'll put out a vote for each individual company with the terms, and then the DAO must approve it basically for us to be able to transfer funds out of the treasury and make these allocations, essentially just starting to make a really solid portfolio of physical AI and robotics assets. And that's kind of what is next in the immediate short term. After that, we will host more auctions to keep acquiring assets and keep building that treasury. And at the same time, we're going to introduce one of our first incubations to the DAO. So we've been working on a project, and we've got a team that's kind of joining alongside Ex Machina to kind of make this ecosystem a lot bigger. It's something to do with this robotic space, and it's more on like the media side of things. But I think there's just a huge opportunity right now in this space. It's so new and growing so much. I think we've established a brand here in the Web3 side of things, but I think there's still a lot of room in the Web2 side of things and the just robotic space in general. So we're trying to ramp up this ecosystem and make it something more than just a DAO. Really show that we're also building different parts and things to the ecosystem and incubating companies within the DAO, from the DAO. And yeah, forming teams around it and so on. So we're really trying to form this like just ecosystem and community of builders, researchers, and just something bigger than the original DAO vision. And you'll have updates on that over the coming month. On top of that, it's just really working on getting our machine economy launchpad ready, and then working with Peak on the really exciting legal sandbox in the UAE, the UAE free zone that we spoke about. So I won't dive too much into that, but essentially, yeah, just a lot of the infrastructure that will enable us to make a lot of what we want to do possible. A lot of this all starts with legal. Like a big value proposition that Ex Machina brings is the legal infrastructure and the legal engineering that we did to make this basically DAO work and be make it decentralized enough to be able to do this and allow people to own a liquid token that's kind of representing all these shares and so on. So it's really complex. So it starts the same with machine RWAs, and now I think that's a big focus for us as well, with collaborating with Peak to work on legal sandboxes for these machines, tokenization and fractionalization of these assets, and then distributing to the token holders or the stake holders of those assets. Yeah, I'll pass it on.
Yeah, I think you covered most of the things, Mauricio. I mean, basically, in a nutshell, the next steps are very simple. Keep doing auctions, and keep deploying capital into those humanoid robotics companies, and potentially Web3 tokens that are involved in the physical AI space. So this is one side of it. Expanding the ecosystem, number two. So there is a proposal that will be issued to the DAO members, and they will vote on it. And this is around media. And third, it's all about this machine economy launchpad. We believe, so yeah, it's going to be probably the number three, also in chronological order, towards the end of the year. So then, of course, it's all towards TG at some point, but we cannot really provide a date. It depends on how the auction go, market condition. There is a lot of things that comes to mind. Eventually, anyway, the DAO members decide. The executive engine, which we belong to, are basically we are responsible to execute what the DAO is voting on. That's basically how the democracy within this DAO work.
It sounds like there's a lot of excitement yet to come, and we knew that. I say that like it's a surprise, but I think everybody here is really looking forward to seeing how this evolves. Martin, we haven't heard from you for a while, so you know, as we're wrapping up, kind of what are your thoughts on the future of Ex Machina, and how they're approaching this, and how we have this project in our ecosystem that is kind of reinvesting in a lot of the things that we're interested in as well.
I mean, it's no secret. I think I've posted it multiple times. I've been very vocal about it. I think Ex Machina is a lighthouse, I would say, in the Peak ecosystem, without any doubt. I think it is one of the projects that is not only spiritually, but also in terms of the market, in terms of the view of how the future is going to look like, that is very, very aligned with what we are doing. And I think it's also very synergetic, right? Because obviously, decentralizing the abundance of the machine economy does not only involve kind of centralized entities. I think there will be many synergies with our other projects in the Peak ecosystem, other robotics projects in the Peak ecosystem, other deepens in the Peak ecosystem. And obviously, we've known each other for a long time. The execution has been absolutely stellar. I think it's outstanding to see what has happened within like the last 12 months. And obviously, it's a big pleasure to have Ex Machina as part of the ecosystem. It's a big pleasure to work on this future of the machine economy, go into the same direction, work very closely, align very closely everything that we do, and I am very, very certain that the future for them is bright. I mean, I have to say it, of course, in my role, right? But trust me when I say that this comes from me as a person. It's obviously no investment advice. I am very, very bullish on Ex Machina, and I'm pretty sure that there is no reason not to be in the future.
Thank you for the kind words. And I guess I've also wanted to say that I've been noticing Peak everywhere on Twitter with the Yapper leaderboard. That's really cool. Yeah, literally, like my feed is just 100% Peak for the last like 2-3 days, which is great to see.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It's exciting. I have to say I underestimated the addictive power that this has. Right? It's actually really fun. And yeah, I'm pretty sure very soon with the auctions and all the stuff that is coming, Ex Machina will probably also be everywhere on my Twitter.
If there's one thing I've said over and over, it's that the world runs on fake internet points. And when you can put something substantial behind it, like the DAO we have at XMAQUINA, then you only multiply that more and more. So, it is really exciting to see crypto Twitter alive, talking about these exciting things.
Yeah, finally
I think
something.
the yapping is super interesting actually. The way the system works is not just about mindlessly sharing things. Is actually you need to provide value insights to get more yaps. So you can see how the things evolve over time. I was not really familiar before Peak launched this campaign with Kaito, so it's pretty impressive. Don't have Personally, I don't have time to before the auction is being crazy. But obviously, I would recommend any people to participate. I can't wait to see Martin beat Simon. Would be great if you could beat him. I hope you
As
are
an
able to.
as it's very just be careful on taking sides here,
It's
right?
very hard.
Because
It's very hard.
it's it's very hard. I know. Yeah. I mean, it's yeah. I've probably decided to take on the most tough competitor, but I mean, obviously, Simon is one of the very few people that has understood the vision of Peak and also the vision of Ex Machina earlier
He's
than
killing
many
it.
many other people's, right? Like he is really one of the people who
Yeah.
also deserves the spot, which doesn't mean that I will not try to take it away from him, of course.
Yeah, honestly, what Simon does, if for people who don't know who Simon is the CEO of Moonrock Capital. But he's like also like a crypto Twitter legend. Like he does everything at once. It's insane to see. Like on the Kaito leaderboards, he's literally like number one. I think on the whole system, or he was at least a few months ago, and he's number one on like Infinex, now Peak, and like a lot of different projects. It's crazy to see. How he's doing both things. He's literally investing, and I really appreciate like the amount of support he's gave us. So he's been one of the, I think the most value add. Well, not the most. MH Ventures is in here in the crowd as well. I see Kira. MH Ventures and Moonrock have probably been the two most value add investors that we've had so far. And but yeah, it's just impressive to see how he's doing everything at once, and he's always ahead of the curve, right? Like he was really early to DeSci, and now machine economy deep in. Like he's always like ahead of the curve, so it's really impressive. And all while he's doing all this research and doing all that, he's also like a crypto Twitter and a Yapper legend. So it's just like yeah, wild for me to see. I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I've known him for multiple years now, and he's always been like that. And what I appreciate about him and about generally kind of this wider ecosystem that is forming around Peak is it's people that have good values, that have high ambitions, but that really kind of focus on quality, right? And if I mean, you will not see him chill. Usually, at least as far as I know, you will never see him chill any bad stuff. Like he has super high conviction and he's very vocal about it. And yeah, he's definitely one of the people who drive this forward together with all of us.
And I think he takes way more risks than most other VCs. Like he goes in super early. Like when he was our first investor, so like he took the biggest risk out of everybody when it was just a vision and a pitch deck and a couple of people with a dream. And then he was the first one to support us and kickstart everything. So yeah, we appreciate Simon. If he ever listens to this, he probably won't. He's probably too busy yapping. But anyways, shout out to Simon.
Cool. Well, I mean, I would love to talk more about Ex Machina and how everybody should be following Martin to give him as many smart followers as possible so he can take down Simon. I'm on board. I'm Team Martin all the way. But our time is up. These spaces always go so quickly, and there's always so much more we can talk about. But I wanted to thank everybody up on stage, Mauricio, Mercury, Martin, for taking the time out of your day. I know the three of you, especially with auctions coming up and with the ecosystem booming, the three of you, more than most people, are crazy busy right now. So I do appreciate you guys taking the time to talk to us today, and everybody in the audience. We had a great crowd today. A lot of people that I recognize, a lot of new faces. So, you know, without you, we'd just be talking to each other, which, as you could tell, we could do all day. But it's so much better when you guys are here. So thank you very much for taking the time out of your day to listen to us. And with that, you know, anybody up on stage, if you have any last words, now's the time. You know, if you want to shill Ex Machina a little bit more, go for it.
For sure. Follow Ex Machina. Follow what the team is doing. Get involved. Make sure that you don't miss this, and especially really kind of take it seriously, right? Like read the things that they are posting, the information that they are sharing. It's actually exciting to see a really cool, attractive case in crypto that also adds significant alpha. So cheering for you guys, and I'm pretty sure the future for you will be super bright and you're changing the world.
Thank you so much, guys, for having us. It's always a pleasure to be here. I see a lot of our community in here as well, and our DAO members in here. So, yeah, just a message since we're leading up into the auction on Tuesday. Market conditions are not ideal, but I think we're building a lot of traction. I think things are looking good for Tuesday. So we just need everybody to show up, you know, help with our tweets, retweet. Right now it's time to shine. Like this is not our project. We just started this thing. It's a DAO. Like we literally need everybody to come together and help this grow. So it's in your hands over the weekend, leading up to Tuesday, Monday as well. Tuesday before the auction, let's push as hard as we can and make sure this Genesis auction 2 is a great success, and then we could keep growing and growing until TGE. So yeah, thanks again, everybody, and let's kill it on Tuesday. Big week next week.
Thank you for this, AMA. Thanks for the kind words, Martin, and have a fantastic day to Peak and all the Peak community. We love you guys.
Cool. So with that, we're going to end our space. Again, thanks everybody. These are always fun. Love doing these. So look forward to the next time. Let's not wait 6 months this time. Let's schedule one a lot sooner. But wherever you
Thanks
guys
a lot,
are in the
Jane.
world, yeah, wherever you guys are in the world, I hope you have an amazing morning, afternoon, or evening, and we will talk again very soon.